Blitz is defined as a sudden, savage attack. It is indeed all this. The effect is sure. The premise is simple. It's a basic, primal confrontation, man to man. No excuses are offered, none accepted.
Welcome to the latest edition of Longhorn Blitz with horns247.com.
Looks like a radio station.
Now, here are your hosts, lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers,
Pure athlete, yeah.
I transcend race, hombre.
Matt Butler,
I don't talk, man. I back it up.
And we are chock full of that, man.
Damn right.
and Jeff Howe.
It's still real to me, damn it.
And that's the bottom line, because Stone Cold said so.
If you're gonna blitz, come strong, but don't come at all.
Coming strong with another Dog Days edition of Longhorn Blitz with horns247.com. I am Jeff Howe. Let's not waste any time. Let's jump right into it. We've got a lot to discuss. Let me bring in the rest of the team. He is the master of the soundboard, the drop machine extraordinaire. No longer the man behind the glass, but the man who sits at the controls, nevertheless. Matt Butler. Matt, how are you this week, sir?
Doing pretty well, man. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. Another man who's doing well, always doing well, is our lockdown corner here on the show, lifetime Longhorn, 2002 UT All-American, 2002 semifinalist for the Jim Thorpe Award, fourth-round draft choice of the New York Giants back in 2003. Spent his NFL career with the Giants, Lions, Bears, Bucks, Broncos, and a year with the Hamilton Tiger Cats of the CFL. When he was done with football, got himself back to Austin, Texas, into 40 acres, where he earned his degree. If he knew where his T-ring was, he would wear it proudly. Nevertheless, he is a card-carrying member of DBU. Number 21 in your program, number 1 in your hearts, Mr. Rod Babers. And Rod, I wanted to start this week off with a quick pop culture discussion, if you don't mind, since you fashion yourself a pop culture critic.
Don't get me started.
Two things that I want to talk about. One, I rediscovered a music catalog that I haven't touched in probably about 5-6 years. I don't know when.
Okay.
I forgot. It's been longer than that since I've listened to this album. It's probably been 10 years since I've listened to the album. I forgot how great All Eyes on Me is as an album.
I still have that on the phone. That's one that's never left a discography.
You can easily do that. I mean, I run the POC all the time,
Me
so
too.
I can understand
Yeah.
that. So, yeah, I get you, though. I feel
I've
you
got
on
a few select cuts from
Yes.
that, but I started listening to the whole thing. I'm like, wow, I forgot how great this thing
You
is.
can jam it all the way through.
Yes.
You really can. It's one of those. It's rare. You can jam it all the way through. You don't need. You could skip because they're obviously not all. They're not all select choice.
Right.
Tupac.
There's some
joints,
pretty deep cuts in there.
But it's some deep. You'll find a verse or two you like in a song you didn't even really like. Like, damn, I didn't know Pac actually killed that.
Yeah.
That's, you know what I mean? So yeah, I feel you on that. I do that all the time with great artists. I think that is always the case.
That one, The Chronic is one that I can listen to.
Chronic is like
front
that
to back.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a few. The other thing I wanted to get to is I forget like how quick hip hop in particular cycles through. Like when this whole Drake Pusha T beef started.
Man.
I saw people and some coworkers of mine at 24/7 Sports were like, I don't know anything about Pusha T. I'm like, how do you not know about Clips?
Clips, man, back in the day.
Like Lord Willin' is one of those albums that
Old
I can
school.
go front to back.
Pusha T's like 40. Pusha T's old school. Pusha T's been in the game for like 15 years now. Supposed to be an ex-drug dealer or whatever that got into the game. Him and I don't know what the other guy was. That's brother, cousin. I don't know the guy that in Clips. I don't know who he was. Anyway, I'm not gonna give you the background on the Drake beef. You got to go look it up. We don't have the time to discuss it. But I'll just say Drake still has not responded. Pusha T killed him in the
brothers
diss
that
rap.
filmed Clips, by the way.
They brothers.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know what happened to the other brother. I mean, right now it's just Pusha T. But anyway, Jay Prince from H-Town, who is a
legend,
a rap
hilarious.
legend in the rap world. Please Google that too. We don't have the time to explain. Apparently, he is settling the beef because he's one of those guys like with a Suge Knight, Master P like persona where you don't want to mess with them. They actually were at one point living in that, in the gangster world.
He's that guy for H-Town.
Yeah, he's that guy for H-Town. Scarface, well respected. Drake has been under contract with him. Nobody messes with, Jay Prince. So he's settling it, and apparently it's done. Like they're not even going to talk about it anymore because you don't want to get on his bad side.
And if nobody knows about Jay Prince, I just saw an unbelievable tweet barrage by Roy Wood Jr., who's like a guy.
I saw that. Yes, that comedian.
If you need a story of who Jay
Yes.
Prince is, just just go into
There you
Twitter
go.
and he'll explain how a prank call made
It really
him move
is.
out of Houston in 4
amazing.
hours.
Throw that in the Twitter machine
Yeah.
and have some fun with
But
that.
it is amazing that the best rapper arguably in the game today got essentially annihilated, emasculated in a rap beef these days and there was no response at all. I mean,
No.
Tupac went after somebody's wife and all that kind of stuff.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I thought the release of Straight Outta Compton, the movie, taught us that No Vaseline was like the greatest diss track ever.
It is definitely top 3. I'm gonna put Pac up there just because I'm a Pac fan. But yeah, that's how different rap is today. So Drake there's even no response. He just he's not even gonna engage.
Like when Jay-Z came out with the
died over a rap beef arguably.
when Jay-Z came out,
told him that your career will be over.
when Jay-Z came out with the blueprint and he had the takeover on there. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? So that's
I don't
what
know.
rap is
I was just
today.
more blown away that people were like, well, I don't know anything about Pusha T. I'm like, how do you not?
Yeah.
Like, what?
It's-
and then I remember a couple weeks ago when Jambalaya Festival was in Austin, and I saw a tweet from Jordan Pouncey
right.
who said, I can't believe me and Michael Huff were the only two people hyped about T.I. I'm like, I'd have been hyped about T.I.
Oh man, I've been hyped about T.I., dude. T.I.'s a great lyricist. One of the
That just lets us
all-time
know
great lyricists.
maybe our time has passed, Rod.
Well, like I said, it's gonna be great when we're all old. Hopefully, we all live to be old, and we're 70 years old. And when in the old folks' homes, and when you're a grandfather and a great grandfather, you're gonna be jamming T.I. You're gonna be jamming Drake. You're gonna be jamming like Cash Money Brothers
So when
and
you're
Lil Wayne.
when you're
And
pop sitting on the back porch with a spittoon and a beer.
And I have no idea what the hell hip hop is gonna be at that point. But it's like country music is now. Country music's old. Like the hip hop's like 30 or 40 years old. Country music now. Old traditionalists, the country music traditionalists, they hate new country music.
The pop
they
version to
despise
the western,
they
the
cannot
genre
stand it.
niches.
Yeah, and now it's a pop version of it. Now there's like a kind of a
That's
soul,
when you made it.
a soul version of it. Like, nah, man, I want original country. And we were introduced to kind of the original kind of hip hop at its
Right.
core, at its
Something
infancy.
in order to even begin to have genres, you just first means that you've made it. Hip hop
Yeah.
got to the point
That's
that
true.
now you have
it
the
does.
niches
Yeah.
and it's
Drake is singing and rapping. We're like, what the hell is that? Like, I don't know.
Speaking of country music, one thing I was blown away by when we had our 24/7 Sports Publishers Conference, we had dinner and our awards banquet for the year at the Country Music Hall of Fame. And we had a little cocktail hour kind of in the rotunda.
Nice.
And I had no idea until I got in there that Johnny Cash's plaque and Merle Haggard's plaque are right next to each other.
That makes
I was
sense.
like, how badass is that?
Yeah, man. This is, and I guess you can. Some people are like, oh man, this is good because I wasn't introduced to a lot of country. I'm in Texas, so there's a certain amount of country you got to get introduced to. But lately, I've been on a country kick. You know what I mean?
I
Kinda
remember-
old school country. I don't know what it is.
Do you remember going on the radio and you saying, "Man, I wish I could get into country. I just don't know where to start."
I don't know where to start, dude. There was actually a Showtime show. It's an animated series, and it was one of the guys who the Austin film show creator. I forget his name. I believe he's
Mike Judge?
Yes, he's actually one of the creators of it, and it just tells stories about country
Yes.
music. Man, I started watching the show, and then I would go look up all the country music. Dude, I'm an old school country music guy. I don't like country music because I was introduced to it when it was poppy and all. It was saturated. No, you got to go back to when it's unfiltered and old school, and that's kind of the country that I like. And I'm just getting introduced to it.
Old deep
It's like somebody who
Southern
just started
blues.
to watch Sopranos in 20 years later.
Like the way that the old blues musicians were looked down upon as this inferior type of music, but it was actually from the heart. That's
Yeah.
sort of, you have some country roots that are very
man.
similar to those when you just go across the
yeah,
country.
no, that I mean, you saw Willie Nelson in concert, so yeah,
Even
you
like
He's a man.
a little newer than Willie, like George Strait's one of those artists that
I just got on
cuts
some-
across. It's a lot of cross sections,
just
socioeconomic
downloaded
backgrounds.
Just
yeah.
downloaded 2 volumes of George Strait on the phone literally 2 weeks ago. You know what I mean? Yeah,
There you go.
just did. Got some oceanfront property in Arizona for you. You know what I mean? Like,
It's
you
good
boys
stuff.
own it.
Yeah.
Now, but I'm just getting to it. So that just shows you that it just takes some time. Good music doesn't matter what the hell kind of genre it is. If it's good, you can appreciate it.
Right. So something else we can appreciate that we've talked a lot about on the show for the last few weeks is quarterback play. And
yeah.
we might as well make June quarterback month here on the Blitz. And I want to start with, let's go ahead and start with the Kyler Murray discussion. Rod, I know
Yeah.
you want to talk about that this
I do
week.
wanna
And
get
then
into this.
we'll finish with Sam Ehlinger. But when you look at Kyler Murray, went much higher in the Major League draft than anybody thought he was going to go. I mean, everything I'd heard, it was probably going to be maybe late first round, probably in that first compensation round. He goes 9th overall to the Oakland A's.
Yeah.
Organization, the right one.
The slot value for that pick is $4.8 million.
Yeah, straight cash on me.
Now, Kyler Murray says he's going to play. Basically, he's going to be one and done as a starter at OU. He's going to play.
Did he say 1 year? Because I haven't heard him specify.
That's what the plan is.
Sort
apparently.
of the agreement between all parties.
Yeah,
like,
so
it seems like OU, Oakland.
he will play.
No, everybody's on the same page of him playing, but I hadn't heard about the specification about if it 1 year because he got 2 years of eligibility.
Sign.
He's got 2 years of eligibility.
He will play. He will play for Oklahoma in the fall and then join the A's next spring.
He can still sign though.
Well, no, but in this draft, you lose your rights. The same way, say, remember whenever the Astros drafted Appel
right?
I think sign, then he would be drafted. So then the A's wouldn't be able to get him, and it'd be the next.
I think
year
like August 1st is the deadline when
you'll have to decide.
Yeah. So he can sign, but he's still. The plan is for him to sign. There's again, Matt. I think Matt just said it. There's already agreement, basically an agreement in place for him to play his, I guess, what is he now, junior?
So basically, the A's were just like, we don't care about the risk of you maybe getting hurt this fall. You're so damn good. And we knew this like back whenever he came out of high school when he was going to be a first-round pick. And we were like, he's going to go be a quarterback. He wants to play football. It's his dream.
Yeah.
Go do your dream. And the A's are like, yeah, we know. But still, you're so damn good that we're going to take the risk of whatever happens this fall because we need you at age 21 to start.
So, Rod, I don't know where you wanted to go with the Kyler Murray thing, but I thought about it from this standpoint. When you go back to that 2015 recruiting cycle, Kyler Murray to Texas came a lot closer to happening than some people might think. Mm-hmm. It was a legitimate option on the table. And I think the allure of it was you go play football and resurrect the football program under Charlie Strong. You go play baseball for Augie Garrido, which at the time Texas was, the fall. So that fall of 2014, they would have been coming off of their last run in Omaha. Mm-hmm. So Texas was an attractive baseball option. So Kyler Murray had a lot of reasons to want to go to Texas. It didn't end up happening. And Rod, we talked about it before we went on air. It's funny how you think about, man, throughout the history of this program, since the Colt McCoy injury. In that national championship game, it's been kind of one what if after another. Mm-hmm. And if Kyler Murray picks Texas, and if at that point Charlie Strong's forced to change the way the offense runs, it's not inconceivable to think he might still be the head coach at Texas.
Well, yeah, depending on how. Yeah, it's a great point. I mean, obviously the domino effect, the butterfly effect, that one of those decisions could change everything. Shoulda, woulda, coulda, and what ifs, buts, candies, and nuts, right?
Because I think Kyler Murray will prove playing for Lincoln Riley that he's a damn good quarterback. Is he an NFL caliber quarterback because of size? No, he's not. Yeah. But doesn't change the fact that I think he's going to be damn good at this level.
Well, Lincoln Riley's system, I think, is what a lot of people have said is the reason he's going to be successful. He's perfect for that system, almost tailor-made for it. And some of the things that he was able to do at Baker Mayfield, I don't know if the passing ability of Kyler Murray is on the level of Baker Mayfield, but certainly in being a dual threat guy, he brings another level.
So where'd you want to go with the Kyler Murray discussion, Rod?
First of all, I think he may be, and I got to go back and look at it. I don't know if there's been a two-sport star who's a Major League Baseball, obviously, prospect or a player now, who's been drafted higher than him.
No, Jeff Samardzija was also a top first rounder, but wasn't higher. Wasn't top 10.
In Major League Baseball, in the Major League Baseball draft.
Yeah.
Now, of course, Bo Jackson was drafted, I think, number 1 overall in the NFL draft. I'm talking about Major League Baseball. So, man, it really is kind of a historic, really is.
Absolutely,
kind of roll the dice it is for the Oakland A's.
Right.
And I love that everybody's on board for him playing college football. It was his dream. When I used to talk to Marquise Goodwin about, being an Olympian, he actually it was something that he wanted he dreamed about, and something that he wanted really on his all-time resume, to be an Olympian, to be a Longhorn football player, to be a track star. He wanted to be all those things. He has that ability. Hell, I did too, now that I go back and think about it. You know what I mean? I wanted to be a track star or baseball. Deion Sanders was my idol, so baseball/football. Hey, I was a terrible freaking baseball player. I had no handout coordination. I wasn't, effing fast. You know what I mean?
You did
Marquise
get yourself kicked out of a kickball tournament at one time, according to Matt.
Is dropping F-bomb fast. You see guys like that run, you like, holy You know what I mean? Like it makes you cuss. They are that damn fast. You never seen anything that fast that is organic and human. You know what I mean? But when you start looking at, guys like Deion Sanders, who has that type of ability, hell, even Quan Cosby is a guy, Ricky Williams, we've had guys here, Russell Wilson, other guys like that. I think when you have that ability, hell yeah, man, you should pursue it. Like, I understand exactly why, Marquise Goodwin wanted to be an Olympian and also come back here and play college football. And people are like, man, he should focus on one of those things. It's like, why? He's good at all of them. It's like asking Donald Glover, Childish Gambino, man, he should just rap, or he should just write, or he should just act, or he should just be a stand-up. It's like, no, he can do all of them. Right. He actually has that ability. It's rare, but he has that ability. Like
think about Eric Metcalf, Lamb Jones.
You know what I mean?
And then when you're great at something, that's going to stand out.
Those guys are rare. He's one of the greatest athletes on the planet, technically. People don't want me to say that because he's been an Aggie and now a Sooner, but it's true. So I applaud what he's doing. I think it's really, really cool.
So, but the Kyler Murray discussion is pertinent for two things. One, the point that I brought up that just kind of got me thinking, like, what if Kyler Murray would have picked Texas, and how different could things have been, and it changes a lot. But the other thing is, okay, the plan right now is for him to play his junior year at Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. Let's say he doesn't. Let's say the A's say, hey, we'll make it worth your while to not play football. Because we got a long time.
They've already said he's going to play.
I get it, but we got a long
experiment.
Got a long time to that deadline in August, and
anything could happen.
July 13th. Right.
As long as the owner has second thoughts, then
Kyler Murray's got all the leverage.
This organization, the A's, are the ones that have done it their own unique way. Like they're transparent. They tell you what they're doing, and they don't ever have a chance to get a player this good in free agent. The only time they can get a player this good is if they draft one. Yeah. And they still weren't going to be able to get a player this good because they didn't have a top draft pick. But this football quarterback thing threw a wrench in, so everybody's now fearful of the best player, arguably, position outfielder in the entire draft. And they're like, oh, it's just one college year, and like we view all these players playing all these sports all the time. It's no big deal. He's coming in at age 21. That's young.
Right. So whether he plays or not, I mean, I'm saying let's not completely rule out the fact that he could decide at some point this summer, you know what, maybe I just need to go ahead and just focus on baseball. Because it's clearly where his professional future is. It's not
July
gonna be
13th will be that day.
It's clearly baseball. So thinking about that, Rod, and knowing that it's a unique situation with the one and done thing, I've got to think that's going to impact, how Oklahoma uses him. I mean, because if you're Lincoln Riley, don't you want to try to squeeze every drop of juice out of that orange that you can, so to speak?
Yeah.
Knowing this is it. This is it. This is all you got.
That's all you got.
Oh, and Vegas has them at huge. We saw 10.5 wins. Expecting him to be great.
You start thinking about the dynamic there, and it's going to take a lot on Lincoln Riley and the leaders on that team to kind of balance out. Our starting quarterback is the third highest paid guy on this entire campus.
He's paid more than Lincoln Riley.
He's paid more than Lincoln Riley, exactly. Yeah. And so you start weighing in all these factors, and the point I'm making is, at some level, this has got to impact the Big 12 title race and then how we view this conference. Because Oklahoma, you can call it whatever you want. It's just uncertainty, instability. There hasn't been a point really where Lincoln Riley can go all in on Kyler Murray because he hasn't known, and really I don't think can still be 100% sure that he's going to have him all focused and locked in for a year.
Yeah, I mean, I do.
I think he does. He's doing it only out of love.
Yeah, I do. I think his motives are pure. I think that's what's kind of really stupefying about the decision, that he's not really concerned about the money. Usually, I played against Carl Crawford in Houston, and Carl Crawford was in a similar situation. He was the best athlete probably in Texas at the time.
His was out of high school.
I think he had offers from like USC, Nebraska to play football.
Hell of a basketball
Florida
player,
State.
too.
He had offers to play basketball at like UCLA and some other places. And he was a hell of a baseball player. He was drafted, I think, in the second round, like 59th or something overall. Played against him a couple of times.
Out of high school.
And that guy it was unbelievable. And he could have, I think he did sign somewhere to play college football.
Nebraska.
But he signed Nebraska. Mm-hmm. He made the decision, decide, you know what, no, my family is in a different situation, so I'm going to go play football. Look at Kyler Murray. His dad played Major League Baseball. His circumstances are a little bit different. So I think he is actually doing it because this is something that he's always dreamed about, trying to live out his dream. But as you were talking about it, as it relates to the Big 12 title and with Lincoln Riley, Oklahoma, they're such a great football program, such a great blue blood. How many Big 12 titles have they won? I don't know, since Bob Stoops won
10.
His first one.
Is it 10 or 11?
Maybe 11, actually. Mm-hmm. I think it's 11. And how many different starting quarterbacks have they had?
A lot.
7 in that time span. You know what I mean? Like
Texas hasn't had many of late.
Yeah, it ain't really about the quarterbacks. Now for Texas, different formula. But for Oklahoma, it ain't always about the quarterbacks. They win on other things too, much like Alabama does. Not even every blue blood can win championships like that with quarterbacks. I won't call them no name brand because they're great quarterbacks in their own right, but they're not transcendent. You know what I mean? They've had Sam Bradford. They've had.
They won a
now
conference
Baker,
championship with Paul Thompson, a quarterback.
Baker Mayfield, but they haven't been trained. Those guys, I'm not trying to disrespect them. They were good players and great. Jason White, I think, won the Heisman, didn't he?
Right.
So good, good
Kyler
to great
Murray
players,
right now is
but
a
they were
favorite.
not transcendent like Cole McCoy or Vince Young. They weren't transcendent
So
players.
you think everything around Kyler Murray whether it's Kyler Murray, Austin Kendall, or the Easter Bunny at quarterback?
I'm just going off Oklahoma history, man.
And I'm
Recently.
going
I'm going off the
off
Oklahoma that I know.
Right now on odds to win
That's
the
the one that was
Heisman.
passed down from Bob Stoops to Lincoln Riley.
My thing on OU is this. It's damn hard to sustain a dynasty for a long time. And you look at Oklahoma within the context of the Big 12, they've done it better than anybody in the league. They dominated the league
And they
for the last
handed
decade
off
plus.
to Lincoln Riley, the next guy, really well.
At some point, there's a crack in that it cracks somewhere, and you start to lose ground. I'm just wondering, and I'm not saying this is because Kyler Murray's a bad egg or anything like that. I'm just saying this situation is so unique, and the dynamic is something we've never really seen. Rod, as you said, never seen a guy taken this high in the draft that was in this high profile
Not that
position.
I can remember.
Is this the situation where now you start to see cracks in the foundation? And keep in mind, a lot's changed at OU. They have a new strength conditioning guy. Jerry Smith was there for a long time under Bob Stoops. Now you got Benny Wiley in there, and you go ask people on the 40 and go ask people that were there. Some guys don't have a very high opinion of Benny Wiley as a strength guy. So a lot of stuff has changed. So I'm just wondering, that's kind of in my incoherent rambling, that's kind of what I was getting at. In all of this, is this where maybe we start to finally see some cracks in that foundation in Norman?
I'd say after Kyler. Because, I mean, you look at Vegas odds right now, and there's only a couple of them out there, bookmakers. I know BetOnline has it, but, I mean, Kyler Murray's one of the top Heisman Trophy odds guys in the entire nation. He's top 6 player in the entire nation. He's ahead of people like J.K. Dobbins or Trace McSorley, Jalen Hurts. Their odds all worse than you can find anywhere from 16 to 20 to 1. So outside of, say, Bryce Love is really and Jonathan Taylor, those two running backs are the only guys clear cut ahead of Murray in the Heisman race, to where I think this is just as simple as Oklahoma was afforded the one luxury that nobody has ever got. You've never got a chance that, oh, wait, this guy is this good of an athlete and could be a pro in this other sport, but he just loves the game so much that he's going to wants to play football before he goes on to his career. It's sort of like, a life event for him that before he has to become a professional, sort of as we do when we're young. When you're young in your 20s, you have time to do a few things before you become an adult. And his dream is this. He knows he probably ain't going to make millions doing this, but he already has the millions lined up, and now he just gets to go for a fall, try to do it, and if it doesn't work, he ends up going and still getting what he already has on the contract. So OU, they just have a good situation, and the Aggies really screwed one up.
Yeah, I mean, and I know we're not going to talk a ton of OU. We're going to make the transition to Texas. Because I know people are like, oh, sick of hearing about OU. But they are having a really good year. Baker Mayfield drafted number 1 overall. Kyler Murray being drafted, and then Trey Young, too. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, they're having a good year, which is good for Texas. That pressure, that's good pressure. Chris Del Conte's paying attention to that. So is Tom Herman. So is Shaka Smart. So you can't help but pay attention to it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And hopefully Tom Herman can have that kind of a David Pierce-like year, really, that leapfrog that nobody's really expecting. That's what you're talking about, the connection where if Kyler Murray doesn't really work out, maybe his mind is elsewhere, maybe he's distracted, maybe he's making career decisions when he's out there playing football now because the millions are on the line.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
it's human nature. It's not anything against Kyler Murray. It's human nature.
And then that's all Texas needs, because right now a lot of people are high on Texas. I think the ESPN Football Power Index had Texas at 9 wins. Vegas, I looked at Vegas. It was a Las Vegas. Maybe it was a super book they came out with there. College Football Toes. They had them at 8.5 wins.
Wow, I have 7 right here.
Yeah, Mark Schlabach said they should win 9 or 10 games. He wouldn't, you know what I mean? So the expectations, I think people are starting to feel that buzz about Texas right now, like that this Texas team, I don't know, I have that those numbers. But everybody's I'm sure expectations and projections are different. But I'm starting to hear more positivity about Texas. And I think a lot of it's pointing to what you're talking about, all the uncertainty with Kyler Murray and his situation, with all the other Big 12 quarterbacks. Texas plays a tough schedule in the non-conference, but not a lot of teams and programs that have solidified quarterbacks, veteran quarterbacks in place.
It's almost like when you start looking at the Big 12 race and you start talking about Texas.
Texas has one of the better quarterback situations.
And when people start asking, well, why Texas? It's almost becomes, why not Texas?
Yeah, exactly. It's like Will Greer's at West Virginia. It's like, okay, he's great, but you got that much confidence in West Virginia? And even Vegas doesn't. Vegas has West Virginia, I think, at like 7.5.
I think Dana Holgerson's a hell of a coach, but how many times have we seen West Virginia be like on the cusp of like, okay, this is where they're going to break through, and they have yet to do it under Dana Holgerson.
Yeah, so I understand that because the Kyler Murray thing is interesting. You're talking about the psychology of how deep it runs, even if he does play. That's still that dynamic. How does it play in the locker room when the leader of the locker room is a guy that makes
more than the head coach? Exactly.
You know what I mean? How does that play? Those are little small things that end up playing a bigger role. There may be tiny cracks in the foundation that by game 12 end up, becoming some kind of seismic,
I almost look at it like being a Dallas Mavericks fan. I almost look at Texas like I look at the rest of the Western Conference. Like it's all about, okay, can we be in a position to be really good when the Warriors start to decline? And at some point in the Big 12, Oklahoma's going to decline at some point. The thing doesn't stay on top forever. And when that decline starts, and granted, it's different in college football because of roster turnover, blah, blah, blah. But when that decline starts, what position are you in to go maybe take that mantle and run with it for a little bit?
Texas can't worry about that. Oklahoma State worries about that. Texas doesn't worry about it. Texas should be able to topple Oklahoma even at their zenith. Like they should be able to.
But what have we been talking about for the last decade, though?
But that's not the case. Obviously, they've won 11 Big 12 titles since 2000. It's almost like with the Warriors, right? You're talking about the NBA. So stay with that analogy. With the Warriors, the Rockets right now, Daryl Morey's like, I'm obsessed with beating the freaking Warriors. I'm obsessed with it. And to be fair, he's successfully reverse engineered the Warriors really well. They've only lost 6 games since acquiring Kevin Durant. I think they're 30-6, and they've lost 3 of them to the Rockets. Right. So the Rockets have pushed them further than any other team's been able to push them. So he's been really good in what he's doing. But are you gonna keep contending and beating your head against that brick wall, trying to beat the Warriors, arguably one of the greatest collections of talent in the history of the NBA? Or you're going to sit by, like a lot of people waited on LeBron in the East. Boston did kind of, let's wait on LeBron to decline a little bit. Let's wait on this LeBron situation. And then when LeBron's done, Philly kind of did the same thing. They've timed out their process.
But now they're watching this year like,
LeBron.
God.
Yeah, so it's weird. I think either way you're screwed, and you can be successful either way. Okay. You could wait it out and time it out, or you can try to go up against.
But let's agree on this: if Texas, like we've been talking about, Texas makes that jump this year. If we do start to see cracks in the Oklahoma foundation, and if Oklahoma isn't the biggest dog in the yard this year, which I think there's, again, given the factors, there's a chance that can
Oklahoma's
happen.
the only team favored above Texas in the Big 12.
Yes. Texas will be in a position to go attack based on how Sam Ehlinger performs. And I know, look,
no question,
a lot of your national magazines are out right now, and you go look at any of them, they're talking about quarterback battles like Ehlinger versus Buechele. We're right here. We saw it all spring. There really is no quarterback battle. In my mind, there's not. Unless Sam Ehlinger just, I don't know, doesn't show up to summer workouts or whatever, or just sits on the couch.
He just has some breakdown where he just starts throwing picks in
something completely unforeseen that isn't like on the path right now that we see. Sam Ehlinger's going to be the starting quarterback. So, Rod,
I agree with you on that.
I know you wanted to talk about, and this brought me to something with Sam Ehlinger, and I want to just bring this up for discussion. I really try to abide by, when I look at quarterbacks, even though you can say it's old school, I really try to look at Bill Parcells' quarterback commandments. Like when you're talking about a franchise quarterback, because a lot of them, even in this day and age, still hold true. And I just want to run them down real quick. Number 1, ignore other opinions, press or TV, agents or advisors, family or wives, friends, relatives, fans, or hangers-on. Ignore them on football matters. They don't know what's happening here.
There you go.
Number 2, clowns can't run a huddle. Don't forget to have fun, but don't be the class clown. Clowns and leaders don't mix. 3, fat quarterbacks can't avoid the rush. A quarterback throws with his legs more than his arms. Squat and run.
Squat, says the big tuna.
4, and Rod, as you described, Sam Ehlinger's built like a centaur, so that's not a problem for him. Number 4, know your job cold. This is not a game without errors. Keep yours to a minimum. Study. That's a big one for Sam Ehlinger.
That's a big one.
5, Know your own players. Who's fast, who can catch, who needs encouragement. Be precise, know your opponent.
Yeah, that's important. That's chemistry.
6, be the same guy every day. In condition, preparing your lead, study your plan. A coach can't prepare you for everything, for every eventuality. Prepare yourself and remember, impulse decisions usually equal mistakes. So be the same. Wait, that's 6. Yeah, be the same guy every day. 7, throwing the ball away is a good play. Sacks, interceptions, and fumbles are bad plays. Protects against those. 8, learn to manage the game. Personnel, play call, motions, ball handling, proper reads, accurate throws, play fakes. Clock. Don't ever lose track of the clock. 9, get your team in the end zone. Passing stats and touchdown passes are not how you're going to be judged. Your job is to get your team in the end zone, and that's how you will be judged.
That's true.
10, don't panic. Rod, I know you love this. When all around you is in chaos, you must be the hand that steers the ship. If you have a panic button, so will everyone else. Our ship can't have a panic button.
Got to be great in crisis. You got to be great in crisis.
And
which is something you see a lot more in quarterbacks now than you used to.
In the 11th, and the one that I know you want to talk about this week as it relates to Sam Ehlinger, don't be a celebrity quarterback. We don't need any of those. We need battlefield commanders that are willing to fight it out every day, every week, and every season to lead their team to win after win.
To be fair, that is before the social media age.
Very true.
So there, you can't even
This is
avoid it
1980s
these days.
Bill Parcells.
Yes, exactly. And the GOAT, Tom Brady, is the biggest celebrity quarterback, married to a supermodel, and that kind of thing. So you can't avoid it these days. You just got to be responsible about your
because his
exposure.
top protege,
That's
Phil
what you
Sims'
want.
son, became a celebrity quarterback.
Yeah,
It was
exactly.
No fault
you want
of
to be
his.
smart about that. Like Dak Prescott and Ezekiel were hanging out this weekend, and they got penis water guns.
I saw that, yeah.
You know what I mean, on TMZ, and it's like, well, what would Tom Brady do? Instead of, what would Jesus do? What would Tom Brady? Would Tom Brady get caught with penis guns?
He'd be on a yacht.
Penis water guns? No, he's on a yacht throwing footballs to an F1, Formula One, superstar. That's what Tom Brady would do.
Mediterranean.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, you got to be responsible about it. But I'll say this about Sam Ehlinger. My thing is, I always say quarterback competitions are basically elections. Yes, that guy is appointed, but he's appointed by the locker room to a certain extent. He's got to win the locker room, the coaches, obviously. So he's got to win over the coaches. He's got to win over the fans. He's got to win over the media. You know what I mean? Like that, it is kind of an election, and we've seen multiple times on the 40 acres, and I was a part of the Chris Sims Major Applewhite thing where it splintered down to the coaches, the fans, the media, and even in the locker room. And this election between Sam Ehlinger and Shane Buechele, I got to tell you, right now, it ain't looking like it's close. Like, I was watching I'm watching the Texas baseball game, and Sam Ehlinger's hanging out with, Roger Clemens and kicking it, with the team.
It was like Sam Ehlinger was his bodyguard.
It was like Sam Ehlinger. He looks jacked up too, by the way. But yeah, I'm like, man, where's Shane? I'm sure Shane's out there somewhere. Where's Shane? And they don't put backup quarterbacks usually on TV like that. You know what I mean? Like that's
backup quarterbacks don't hang out with Roger.
Backup quarterbacks don't hang out.
College
with Roger.
kids don't hang out with Roger.
Yeah,
Roger's never hung out with anybody.
Exactly. In the Chris Sims Major Applewhite controversy, if Earl Campbell starts hanging out with Major, you know what? Controversy over.
Yeah, that's pretty obvious.
Earl Campbell's hanging out with Major. Well, that seems like that's not a controversy anymore. So it just seems to me, whether you're talking about in the public stratosphere, whether it be the media, whether it be the players, he's getting endorsements, speaking of elections, from Brecken Hager. Brecken Hager often references him as the starting quarterback. You just got to listen to stuff he says. He's like, when we win the Big 12, I'm going to hand Sam the scissors, and he's going to cut my hair. It's like, well, what if Sam's not the quarterback? Who you going to hand to? You know what I mean? It's like, you're not going to hand him to a random guy. No, he's on social media referring to him as like QB1 and stuff like that. Like, it's, who's the guy that's dancing on the sideline with Coach Herman? It ain't Shane Buechele. Who's dancing and doing the whatever the what do they call it, secure the bag dance, whatever the hell it was? Who's doing it on the sideline right next to Coach Herman? It ain't Shane. It's Sam, because Sam and Coach Herman, they're more like-minded. Hell, we were criticizing Sam for running over defensive backs at the second level. Tom Herman's like, I love it. I love when it happens. I'm like, you realize that's going to be your quarterback getting hurt as a result of it? No, it's fantastic. I love it. It shows what our attitude needs to be. It shows our mentality. It's like, okay, he loves it. He loves it, man. He loves everything about Sam. So in this election, I'm just saying, looks like Sam's winning. So, but I think the only thing that's intriguing all of us in this quarterback, conversation is then what's Shane looking at? Because Shane's a smart guy. Shane's savvy. Shane's got good people advising him around him, right? Very educated, knowledgeable people about sports and how it goes, pedigree, all that kind of stuff. You know, what's Shane's opinion about it? And does he see what we see on the outside looking in of it?
I would have to think so, because look, the one thing Shane Buechele is not, he's not dumb. And one thing the Buechele family is not. They're very observant. They know, they can see what's going on.
Yeah.
I'll say this for Shane Buechele. I think at this point, you know, you're thinking it's what, we're in early to mid June. We're still in early June. What's today? The 6th, 7th?
Yeah.
Yep.
Early June.
6th.
I gotta watch. I don't even look at. But it's too late really to do anything about it now. I think the plan for Shane Buechele, and this is not me citing a source, this is no inside information, this is just me putting my thinking cap on and looking at this logically down the road. I think Shane Buechele is at Texas this fall. I think Sam Ehlinger wins the job. I think Shane Buechele is the backup quarterback for the entire season. Okay. And then I think he graduate transfers next spring.
That would make sense. He wouldn't have to sit out any
to go
time.
Get a fresh start. Because at that point, Rod, you always say from your experience as a player, as a coach, you're more inclined to go with the younger guy, right?
Yeah.
At that point, I would see Tom Herman and Tim Beck putting more into, Cameron Rising and Casey Thompson got redshirt years. Let's get one of these guys ready to be the backup quarterback.
I agree with that.
And fit more of the style you want to have offensively.
And honestly, that's a great point. Then that's ideal for Tom Herman because Tom Herman needs that insurance plan right now, still with Sam, because even with the inconsistency of his play, number one, because he's just a true sophomore, but also with the way Bam Sam likes to play, anything could happen.
I'll go take a page out of your book when we were talking about Tyrone Swoops, and I think it was the year. Was it the year Gerard? We were looking at Gerard Hurd maybe winning the job. Mm-hmm. Gosh, think about that quarterback battle. Oh, and NFL tight end and the guy who's going in his third year as a wide receiver.
That was the future.
That was your quarterback. That was your quarterback battle.
Quarterback competition or a battle of attrition. Yeah.
But you said, Rod, whether he starts or not, Tyrone Swoops will have to be a guy that wins a football game for this team at some point. Yep. I think in 2018 there will be a game where Shane Buechele is going to have to win a game for this team.
Oh, no question. I agree with you 100%. Even with an up-and-coming Vince Young, we had to see a chance Mott come in there.
Yep, K-State.
Against Texas Tech.
And come in there in CYA mode and save the day. So I agree with you 100%. Whether it be because of injury, I'll knock on something here, or whether it be because
you're going to need Shane Buechele to win a game in the fall. And we almost had that situation last year. You go back to the OU game. The drive where Sam has to come out, whether he was concussed or not, that's up for interpretation, and that's for Tom Herman and the family to go through that. Exactly. But think about how different things are. And maybe they might not be different. I don't know. But Shane Buechele had a chance to go win the game on that drive.
Yeah.
But I think the reason why it's not working out for Shane Buechele under Tom Herman in the structure of this offense, we saw like the one play that drive was going good, and then Shane Buechele took a sack. It wasn't his fault. The left tackle got beat on a rush, but man, Sam Ehlinger probably tucks the ball and runs and maybe makes that not a negative play.
Yeah,
you know, it's just one of those deals where
little
extra skill set.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a huge thing that you can lose a play and still win it now with the dual threat quarterback, because if he can identify it and he can turn their victory into your victory.
Your margin for error.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean. With Shane Buechele, it's just so minuscule. But with Sam, you got more margin for error.
I think Shane Buechele needs to be in an offense like he was his freshman year.
I think he knows that too.
It's single read. You know where you're going with the ball. You're more
of a college.
I've heard the Cowboys use this term about Dak Prescott, and I'm as a Cowboys fan, it drives you nuts when you hear like, we're gonna make the offense more Romo friendly or make it more Dak friendly.
Yeah.
Now the big conversation, we want Dak Prescott to be a point guard. We just want him to kind of distribute the ball. That's kind of the offense you want Shane Buechele in, is where boom, he knows where he's going with it, take it and get rid of it because he's accurate. And when he knows where he's going with the football and has a chance to deliver it, he's very good. But we all know there's a lot more that goes into playing quarterback than that.
Yeah.
And it's simpler to defend if that's the complexity of your offense. I mean, you can also execute it and be good and beat inferior teams, but when it comes to, like say playoff football with the Cowboys, or when it comes to beating OU or USC in those games, if you have a simplified offense where you only have one or two options or variations, and then you don't have that second option, which happens to be built in, that when they beat you, you can still beat them. It's just going to be tougher to be able to win consistently against good teams.
The only true quarterback currency is wins, though. That's why it's the only position that you look up the stats and they got your wins right there next to your stats. All right, so If Shane wins games and Sam doesn't win games, this is a different conversation. This is all the assumption that they'll win games when Sam Ellinger's in there. Because if they don't win games, you guys know how that goes. Then we reevaluate everything
Quickly.
And
even if it's unfair. Even if it's unfair, it's results-based. That's just how football works.
Exactly. Because for Shane early on, it wasn't fair to him, really. The offensive line was a bit of a disaster, had no running game. There was a lot going on. And then, hey, man, we got to reevaluate things.
Last year really wasn't fair for Sam. He just sort of thrown in, freshman, go, boom.
Yeah, got to figure it out.
Such is life. But, and I want to get into this. We can start talking about this now, but we talked about, you guys just brought it up, how unfair it really is to both quarterbacks for Shane Buechele's playing in a system that wasn't what he signed up for.
Yep.
I mean, he came to Texas under different circumstances, and, Sam Ellinger, I'm sure, would have liked to kind of, I think in a perfect world, I'm sure Sam would have wanted to play, but in a perfect world, you would have liked to have brought him along at a steady pace, and then when you really needed him, go to him. But, Rod, I started thinking about this as it relates to offensive tackles. And I want to continue this next week because I want to get back into the offensive tackle discussion with Texas picking up.
Got a 5-star.
Picking up Tyler Johnson from Conroe Oak Ridge. And I wrote in my 3 things I know, 3 things I think column is up this morning on the site. It's up right now. And I called Tyler Johnson the best pure tackle prospect Texas has gotten a commitment from since Jamarcus Webb back in the class of 2006. I think it's been that long since Texas had a pure tackle that right out of high school that was this good.
That's hardcore.
Yeah.
What happened to Jamarcus Webb?
He could get jailed up by Jay Cutler.
Played 1 year.
Remember that?
Played 1 year at Texas, transferred out, and then
West
got
Texas
drafted
A&M,
out of West
and
Texas
then there was
A&M.
the second game of Topin like 3 seasons ago when Cutler's just getting obliterated by the Packers, and he goes over and just storms down his left tackle, and that was the replacement, which was Jamarcus Webb sitting in for him.
So he did play in the league, though.
Oh, yeah. After he transferred out of Texas to West Texas A&M and then immediately.
What round did you draft?
7th.
There you go. There you go.
But when I'm thinking about Jamarcus Webb, and I'm going back and thinking is this the best? Does Tyler Johnson have a chance to be think about the last great All-America caliber offensive tackle that Texas recruited as an offensive tackle and cultivated him, and he went to the NFL.
Tony Hills.
I mean, not even thinking about Tony. Tony Hills was a tight end, but I think we all kind of knew he was going to make that transition. But I'm talking about played offensive line in high school. Rod, you probably got to go back to Jonathan Scott in terms of a pure tackle body. It's like Justin Blaylock was just a freak. He was he was a guard body, but he was
there you go.
But you put him at right tackle, and he was great at Texas. But pure tackle, when you think of a tackle body, it's been you played with Jonathan Scott.
Jay Scott,
it's been a long time.
It's a long time. No, you're right about that. I didn't realize that, but you're right. Yeah.
And because they've had, you go through the guys, the pure tackles Texas has recruited.
Some of those guys
you've either guys got like Peyton Kelly and Josh Cochran who had their careers cut short with injuries. Kennedy Estelle, who got himself booted out of the program. But Kennedy Estelle still got a shot to make an NFL roster.
Yeah.
I think out of Alabama A&M or something, wherever he was his last few years. Or it's guys like Kent Perkins and Mason Walters that, they were quote-unquote tackles, but they kicked inside eventually. Yeah. So I basically, my point is, and I want you guys to think about this for next week, how close is Texas to being at a point, and talent, you guys know, you hear me talk about it all the time. I've done it since we started the show, talk about talented depth. How close is Texas to being at a point where one injury doesn't completely cripple one side of the ball? Like last year, we went into the season saying, if Connor Williams goes down, this offense is screwed. When is Texas going to get to the point where it's not like if X player is injured, the whole thing's just
the defense is that the defense has never been in that situation. Really, the defense they've had injuries and still been able to.
2012 is the 1 year you can think of when they lost Jordan Hicks.
Yeah, that's when it all went to hell in the handbasket. But that's one of the beautiful things about last year, even at that bowl game, was that you lost so many guys and still were able to perform at a high level. Offensively, that's a great question. That is because that's where Bama is, that's where Ohio State is, that's where Clemson is, one injury, even to the quarterback, is like, no, we're not decimated. We can still go.
So I want to get into that next
That's
week.
A great question.
Yeah, so
but that's about roster management. That's what these recruiting classes are all about.
Right.
Yeah.
It's going to take you a few cycles to get there, but we'll dig into the recruiting cycles and start looking at specifically offensive line depth, and we'll break it down next week on the show. But right now, let's go ahead and break, and we'll do it again next week. Matt, thanks for everything, man.
You are more than welcome.
Rod B, appreciate the time and the knowledge.
Anytime, brother, anytime.
For Matt, for Rod, for Travis, the best damn videographer in the podcast game. For everybody at the Austin Radio Network, 104.9 The Horn, AM 1260, Horn FM, hornfm.com, and worldwide on the Horn app, where you can hear Rod B each and every weekday from 1 to 3 on the Rodcast.
Shameless plug.
And thanks to Matt, you get us on Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, Stitcher, Google Play, anywhere you get your podcast app, anywhere you get your podcasts, and as always, get all of our archives on the Longhorn Blitz SoundCloud page.
Yep, just type in Longhorn Blitz.
For the Horn family, for the Horns 24/7 family, I'm Jeff Howe. Thank you so much for downloading and listening, and we will catch you again on the next episode.
You've been listening to Longhorn Blitz with horns247.com. Remember, for the latest Longhorn news 24/7, visit horns247.com.